Hello, I'm Hannah on behalf of the Lethbridge Transparency Council, and I'm here interviewing City Council candidate Ryan Lepko. Thank you for joining us, Ryan.
Hey, thank you so much for having me on this beautiful Friday morning.
Yeah, we really appreciate it. So starting off, what do you think needs improvement in the processes of City Council and administration, and how do you plan on making these improvements?
Well, I believe that we work for the people. That is our number one objective. We need to be community driven, and from what I understand, there's what's called an agenda review committee, which is a vetting tool. And from what I understand, it could discourage or does discourage people from talking or approaching council, and that's not direct democracy. Municipal government should be the one place in the three levels of government where any citizen can come in and address city council. Council works for the people, not the other way around. And if you have 300 people show up and you're there all night, that's too bad. Put the coffee on and let's hear what the people have to say. Obviously there's decorum and rules that need to be in place, but for one thing, we need more town halls and opportunities for direct communication with the citizens. And, I hope to be a part of that. I hope the next city council makes that a priority.
And we certainly have more ability in the municipal realm of things to have more consultation one-on-one with citizens than they do in Edmonton or Ottawa for sure.
Mm-hmm.
So what recommendations would you make to engage more citizens in the city's municipal development plan and process?
Well, again, just about face to face, the MDP was nearly 250, 300 pages long, and who really has any interest in that? We have to get back to open councils, open mic time from citizens, and maybe if we had that and people actively involved in the democratic process, more people may be empowered to vote and be part of that process.
Yeah, there's certainly something to be said about being involved throughout the year leads to more participation when election time comes. So that's a really good statement there.
And I'm glad, sorry, I am glad
go ahead.
That the city put out a, with the votes, an opportunity to talk about the third bridge. You know what, I think that'll be a pretty clear sign from the community of whether they are in support or not support of that, even though it's, it's non-binding. It will give future council pretty clear direction on that project.
Yeah, there's certainly a lot on our election cards this year. We got 2 pages of election cards, so that's quite a bit. Yeah. But it certainly allows next council to have more consultation, which is amazing. Mm-hmm. So what do you think the top 3 issues are in our city, and what are your plans to do to address those issues?
Safety and emergency services. Are we getting bang for a buck? Why are citizens saying on any day that there are sometimes only 10 members on patrol from our city police? And, I completely 100% support our city police. But that's out of 160 some sworn members. And why is that? People have identified crime and safety as the #1 issue. And is LPS providing that service efficiently or not efficiently? Do we need to increase funding? If we do, how can we gauge that those dollars are going to boots on the ground? I believe that is what people want, is more visible police presence. But of course, that comes with a cost. And is it worth it? The economy, government is there to provide the environment where businesses will want to invest. I'm not a proponent of tax incentives or subsidies for business. Everyone gets an equal footing, but can we make our taxes more competitive to encourage investment and infrastructure? The job of government is to provide for safety services, provide an environment where businesses will invest and maintain roads, paths, parks, water, sewer, etc.
Yeah, absolutely. There's certainly a lot that goes into what municipal governments do, and a lot that impact our day-to-day life particularly. So you kind of touched on this a little bit in that response. So what would you want to do to create a good environment for business in Lethbridge then?
I believe we already do, honestly. I do have to say, do people Google about Lethbridge and what do they see? I was just talking with an individual who was looking to move to the United States, and he looked on the town and their crime rate, and the crime rate was sky high. And so that discouraged him, from wanting to look, to that community. Is that happening here? And I believe, we got to get that reputation down. We have to get those numbers down somehow, because people do look, and has that discouraged us, or has that discouraged people from investing in our community? I believe having a competitive tax base with proper infrastructure, housing amenities, parks, will attract industry and people. And I believe we do have that. We have an amazing community. We have, the big city, just, hour and 45 minutes away, depending how fast you drive, the mountains, at Stateside, it's all very close. We've got a really great city situational wise and infrastructure amenity wise.
Yeah, I certainly can say that as somebody who is living here after school, I that's one of the reasons I stayed. I love that the mountains are close in Calgary, and we have lots of amenities in Lethbridge, but it still is the small town feel. So reputation plays a lot into business investment and how that all plays out, for sure. So in the most recent MDP process, what decisions did you agree with and what decisions did you disagree with?
Well, just look at that document. It's hard to read, it's hard to follow, hard to understand. And I'll just, for people who've never looked at it, just for an idea of what it says, under their policy, under communities, it says support healthy neighborhoods, social interaction, and placemaking by considering biodiversity, food security, and community gardens, and land use and parks planning. So how do you implement that? Well, consider biodiversity, food security, and community gardens in the preparation of land use and parks plans. B, create new park classifications for community gardens. C, explore options to administer the use of community gardens. So as a document as a whole, there's nothing concrete. It is abstract, vague, wishy-washy. It's just administrative talk. And how and why would people want to read that, first of all? But, to get back to your question, I think ties into the next question you're going to ask about the transportation and the prioritizing of transportation. The city has said walking and cycling are the number 2 priorities going forward. But I'm a bike rider. I've chosen years ago to ride my bike. It's healthier. It doesn't pollute. And I've chosen that. But there's not a lot of other people joining me. So why should we be basing infrastructure projects or these big cost potential projects for something that isn't being used presently? I don't believe in use it, they will come. We're not Holland, where a good portion of the population rides their bike. I ride my bike every day, and I would say there may probably be 0.5% of the community ride their bike or walk to work, and I'm out there every day. So I believe that the city has got that wrong. Single vehicle transportation, it is and will continue to be the number 1 mode of transportation. We need to build our infrastructure around that.
Yeah, there's certainly a lot to be said. I know about your earlier point about that 267-page document being just really inaccessible for a lot of people and hard to read, just because it is so big and bureaucratic. And so that's a good point there. Is there anything else that you want to add about your thoughts on transportation for Lethbridge and prioritization?
Well, public transit, I guess might as well talk about the cost of that. It's exploded exponentially over the last 15 years. I remember riding public transportation, 30, 35 years ago, and the buses were full, and you're website has a great article, their letter to the editor, talking about the increase in costs over the last 15 or so years and why it has increased so much. So we need to really rein in the spending of public transportation, because that's another high cost area that the city subsidizes for a lot of riders. And how can we do that more efficiently?
That's certainly something I know that with the City Link system, they have been looking at it. And I know that basically every candidate has also mentioned that that's something that they want to look at too. So at least the discussion is in progress. So that is really good. So where do you think the city should be spending more money?
The city, it needs to be spending money on, emergency services. Those are, the highest costs, and will continue to always be the highest costs. I'm of the opinion that we shouldn't be spending more money. We should be reining in spending.
So that's perfect. Where do you think we should be spending less money?
Well, public transportation, for one thing. Social programs. Ryan Parker touched on that. We do fund part of them, but provincial governments change, directions change, philosophies change. So if we're offering that service here and the provincial funding cuts money, who's going to be on the hook for that? And I believe we should really look at the social service programs that we are a part of, and whether they are, achieving the desirable result that we want. Certainly,
taking stock of where we are and how that money is being used is definitely always an important part of evaluation. So that kind of leads us into our last two questions here, talking about capital spending and those major projects. So what criteria do you recommend that they look at prior to approving those big capital projects?
The community engagement, as I said from the beginning, open forums where the community gets involved, where they don't have to be vetted, have city council, completely open and allowing members to speak for 1 or 2 minutes. It's their money. They have a right to speak before council and say how they want their money to be spent. As I said, we're having a non-binding vote, of a third bridge, and that's how you get the community involved, in the democratic process. So things like that.
Certainly, getting more people involved is always better if it's possible. So that's a very astute point there. Mm-hmm. So my last question is just looking at the capital improvement program and the plans that they have in place. What 2 expenses are you in favor of, and what 2 things do you not support or you think isn't worth the money that we're investing?
If I was in council, I would, first push to change to allow more transparency and community engagements, and let the community drive the agenda. But, the third bridge, obviously, excellent question. Myself personally, I'm not in favor of a third bridge. I do live on the west side. I would probably use it, but I feel Whoop Up Drive is sufficient. It is busy for an hour and a half in the morning, hour and a half during the day. Do we have accidents? Of course, but we have to deal with that. I don't believe by diverting, a portion of the west side traffic to another route to get to the south side is fiscally prudent. Opposed to a bike escalator, I saw that. That's another, bill that they will come. Multi-purpose all-weather fields, I'm not in favor of that. Performing arts center, I'm not in favor of that as well. But Yuko Gardens improvement, that is proven to be shown that, that's a tourist attraction. That's a great draw for people to come to a community. So, enhance and support those areas where it's a draw, where it's actually being utilized.
Yeah, absolutely. I think we have a lot of really fun and interesting things to do in Lethbridge. I know when my parents come and visit, they always like to go visit the gardens because that's something that's different and they don't get that in Northern Alberta where they live. So it certainly is a tourist draw for sure.
Mhm.
So thank you for doing this interview. Before we close up, is there anything you'd like to add or let people know how they can get in touch with you?
Sure. Well, you know what, thank you very much. And, you know, I'm community driven. That is what the agenda should be driving city council, you know, and towards administration. You know, we work for the people. I am a, you know, a government Alberta employee. I'm a public service worker. So, you know, I'm of the mindset that we are working for the community every day and for the public. You can reach me at vote@ryanlepko.com, vote@ryanlepko.com. My webpage is ryanlepko.com, LEP as in Paul, KO, or my Facebook page, Ryan Lepko at Lethbridge City Council.
Amazing. Well, thank you so much, Ryan. I really appreciate you taking the time.
Hey, no, thank you. Have a great day and great weekend.
Thanks. You too.
Thank you.